What does it mean to be extraordinary in a world that only sees your limitations? The Good Doctor follows Dr. Shaun Murphy, a young surgeon with autism and Savant syndrome, as he steps into the profession that demands not only perfection, but conformity. Most medical dramas spotlight the brilliance of genius doctors, quick decisions, flawless skills, egos as sharp as their scalpels. But Shaun's story is different. It's not about being the best in the room, it's about proving you deserve to be in the room at all. This isn't a show that idealizes perfection, it confronts the realities of difference. Yes, there are high-stakes surgeries, life-or-death moments, and ethical dilemmas, but beneath it all, The Good Doctor is a study in perception, in how we see those who don't fit the mold, and how someone like Shaun can slowly, stubbornly, change what the mold even is. Across its seasons, we watch him move through resistance, judgment, and isolation, not by erasing who he is, but by learning into it. Every patient he meets, every setback he faces, becomes another step in a journey, not just of medical excellence, but of belonging. The Good Doctor isn't a story of exceptionalism. It's a story about becoming seen, and the journey to being seen, truly seen, is rarely fair, never simple, and always worth telling. So if you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button and check out my other videos after this one. And follow my new Substack in the link below for more personal reviews on the TV shows that I watch. And now without further ado, let's explore The Good Doctor. Chapter 1. Breaking Stereotypes of Disabilities in the Workplace. Being different. That is something we have been taught should be the norm. An environment with a collective of different perspectives and differences coming together is what people strive for. But unfortunately, that is rarely the case. When we see someone we believe can't do the job, such as individuals with disabilities, peer judgments often grow strained, creating a discriminatory environment. When Shaun first arrived at St. Bonaventure, he had to earn his place as a surgical resident. The way the series showcases the hospital's environment becomes the main focus of the story. It breaks away the stereotypical narrative where disabled characters exist merely to tick a box for inclusivity. Instead, Shaun is placed at the forefront, and we see the real challenges and adversities he faces throughout the series. He becomes the motion of change. At first, other surgeons and those around him treated him differently, seeing him as another problem they had to carry to please the one person who believed in him. But as Shaun began to prove his values, not only as a surgeon, but also as a doctor, the environment started to shift. Yes, there were moments when others needed to guide him through difficult times, but in the end, his strength outweighed his flaws. He proved to the hospital that he was worthy of being a doctor, and that becomes the heart of the story. It wasn't about focusing on an autistic doctor who might make mistakes. It was about recognizing a doctor, like any other, who has unique insights and challenges. That shift changed the entire narrative. The story moved from shining a light on an exceptional things he could do because he is different to asking, yes, he is different, but why should that matter? He is still exceptional, and in doing so, the series opened a doorway of hope for others who might face the same kind of discrimination, showing they too can be seen. Chapter 2. The Invisible Rules of Fitting In. Whenever we are at a new place of work or even school, there is this invisible feeling, like you're entering something that has already been well established. By coming in, you're essentially breaking the status quo, and now before it's too late, you need to figure it out and fit in. St. Bonaventure was just like that. There was a structure and order in place before Shaun became a surgical resident at the hospital. By him entering it at the beginning of the series, we as the audience knew that things at St. Bonaventure would never be the same again. The hospital had a kind of rigid comfort, a system that functioned without the need of compromise because everyone who worked there was, at least in a sense, capable of handling the challenges that came with the job. There was an unspoken understanding that everyone fit into this mold. However, Shaun's unpredictability, let's just say due to his autism, and the challenges he would face in this new environment disrupted that mold. Interacting with patients, following the rules, and simply adapting to the culture were all things that the staff expected every new employee to handle with ease. But Shaun made them question those expectations. The invisible rules that once defined what it means to fit in at the hospital started to crumble. Those rules didn't matter anymore. Sure, the old mentality lingered for a while. Doctors would sideline Shaun, thinking it would be safer to keep him out of the way rather than let him contribute. But over time, through breakdowns, hurdles, and growth, Shaun proves he belonged. He showed that those old invisible rules were outdated. A new rule had to be created, one that didn't overlook a person's challenges, but gave them the space to prove what they could do. And while the hospital still maintains its high regard for ethics and cultures, it's now more fluid, more alive, ecstatic even. Chapter 3. Patient Stories as Mirrors for the Doctor's Growth. Doctors and patients is one of the most sacred relationships the world has when it comes to any sort of relationships. It is that trust and bond between doctor and patient that patients can share the most sacred details if it would save their life. But that sense of communication is more often not one way. The doctors themselves can be influenced into becoming better doctors, even human beings, because of one interaction they had with a patient. The good doctor shows how powerful that relationship between patient and doctor is. Just as the doctors at St. Bonaventure are treating patients and performing surgeries that saves lives, they're also touched by every single patient they treat. Each doctor in the series is different. They all have the unique characteristics that makes them distinct from one another. Otherwise, well, it would be kind of boring having 8 characters with the same personalities and quirks. Now that being said, each patient touches the doctors differently. For Shaun, it hits harder than for any other doctor in the series because he grows the most from these experiences. For most of his life, Shaun was insulated from the outside world. He had a set routine away from the noise of the city, and faced with his autism, he didn't much want to break that routine. However, when he arrived as a surgical resident at the hospital, he learned much, not just from his co-workers, but also from his patients. Each patient he came across was a new challenge of understanding for him, getting perspectives that he had never thought of, finding more independence, and building comfort around others in a way he never could have before. That is a rare growth to see for a doctor to go through, reminding us that the sacred relationship we often think of as one-handed can be something more, something personal. Chapter 4: The Cost of Caring Too Much. As much as we like to think it, doctors are not gods. They sure feel like they're the front lines in between the perception of gods and humans, but they're not gods who can save every life they come across. Sometimes there are complications and inevitabilities that makes it impossible for a life to be saved. But most doctors, even though they're working to the brinks in most instances, have that care for human life. They want to save people. That is why they came into the profession. Sure, some of them might have ended up as doctors because they have a god complex, thinking they could save every life. But the majority of doctors are those who knows they might lose a patient, even kill them due to complications, and they still do it because they know their care for human life outweighs any negative thoughts that crosses their minds. In the series, things are no different. The doctors, from full-time to residents, are those who actually care about the patients. They try their damnedest to help them, and in many ways to connect with each and every one of them on a personal level. For some, the cost of caring about each patient can be their ultimate skill. A type of doctor who can connect with everyone can be fundamental in getting their patients to risk their lives in the hands of these doctors. While for others, that same care becomes a crutch, the obsession to find that cure that will help their patients no matter what. And that becomes the moral question of the story. What balance should there be between care for patients and burning yourself on the other end of the stick? It is that care and the tragedies that come from the experience that molds each doctor into who they are, into becoming better doctors across the series. Chapter 5: When a Single Life Saved. The Good Doctor, similar to many medical procedures, followed a clear pattern over the course of the series, where there would be 1 or 2 medical cases in each episode that the doctors had to solve in order to save a life. This connection to a single life becomes why it is easy for us as the audience to see how that life impacts the doctors who are treating them. Each life that they try to save is usually a complex one, where ordinary surgeries cannot cut it, and they have to think outside the box with other surgical and medical treatments to save that life. Although yes, this indeed increases the dramatic tension that any series have these days, it is also true that this complexity becomes why the doctors and the viewers connect. It's hard for us as ordinary audiences who have never been to med school to comprehend the medical jargon that is being thrown in each episode. But it is that connection towards the patients, both the one we as the audience have and the one the doctors have, that makes us become one as we branch out to see the outcome. As viewers, we sit in the background, hoping that this episode won't be the one where the patients die on the table, while the doctors are on the clock, reading medical journals, going over everything they have learned, and sometimes thinking outside the box to figure out surgical options that is not only viable, but also safe for the patient. Each life becomes more important than in many other different scenarios, where sometimes we could forget how important a single life can be. It serves as a reminder for the viewers that each life is its own story, each life is worth being saved, and each life, especially, is worth listening to. Chapter 6: The Ending. What does it mean to create a legacy? A legacy that redefines perspective on those faced with neurodivergence, shifting the narrative around disabilities, and breaking the stereotypes that once plagued the world. The single most important moment in the series happened when Dr. Glassman and Shaun first met. Their connection would forever be intertwined, creating a legacy that allowed both of them to make a real difference for those around them. From doctors like Glassman, Melendez, Lim, and even Andrews, they all saw something in Shaun. They gave him a chance even though the majority were hesitant, some outright unwilling, to believe in his potential. But that one moment, that single act of belief, redefined everything and set it all in motion. From being an abused autistic child, seemingly destined to fail, even losing his younger brother as they tried to get away from all those noise, Shaun defied the odds with Glassman's support and the guidance of others. He learned from the best, including the father figure who believed in him. He was entrusted with the most sacred of responsibilities, and in that process, he discovers what it means to truly belong. Each life he saved, each patient he connected with, taught him more than medical jargons. It taught him how to find his place in a world that often misunderstood him, and even gave him the courage to build communities and learn what it truly means to love someone. Eventually, Shaun was even trusted to teach the next generation of surgeons, and through that, he learned even more, struggling with communications, challenging his comfort zones, and understanding that growth means adapting. Shaun proves himself that with the right supports and mentorship, knowledge can be passed down to anyone, even to those who are different. Along the ways, they faced heartaches and countless challenges that tested whether it's even possible for someone like Shaun to rise above the expectations and prove his worth. But Shaun didn't just find his place within the walls of St. Bonaventure, he became a symbol beyond them, an inspiration for others facing similar struggles and prejudice, showing that they too could be part of something greater. Shaun never set out to change the world, he just wanted to be a surgeon, but in that process, he made the biggest change of all, and through all the love, loss, and community he built, we're left with peace of knowing that he has grown, shaped by every experience and every hardship to prove to the world that he has truly made it. And in the end, Shaun didn't just prove he belonged, he became the kind of person he once needed, lighting the ways for those still searching their place. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you soon in the next review episode.